How are you?
Oh, good. Another day in paradise. All right, who wants to go first?
Yesterday, Coach Grubb said, or obviously y'all don't have any sacks this week. He said you had 2 throwaways that you maybe had not had in the past game. They were clean throwaways, good decisions. Just kind of, I know something you've been working on. Just how have you been working on that, and kind of how challenging is it to make those decisions of, okay, I want to try and make a play, but I just need to get rid of the ball?
Yeah, honestly, probably should have been 3 throwaways. That last one in the fourth quarter on the bootleg was pretty dangerous. But it's just repetition, reps. Just experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember the first game, probably could have done that a lot more, you know what I mean? And then the second game, just more experience, more time, scenarios, right? Different situations. It just all adds up, right? All adds up in the memory bank. Knew last week that, they had some guys on the rushers, some very good up front. Same thing this week, right? Like guys are coming off the edge, very quick. My job is to get the ball out quickly, right? So, got to stay at any of the plays and just experience every week. It's just reps in the memory bank and just got to keep going.
How do you avoid a letdown against a team like South Carolina who hasn't had the season that they'd hoped for?
Well, first off, right, they're a really, really good team. Like, I don't think their record shows how really good they are, right? They've lost close games, right? Like 2, one possession games that if one turnover goes a certain type of way, right, they probably win. So, I wouldn't say they're, a bad team at all or anything like that, right? Like, it's homecoming, it's a hostile environment. Any team in the SEC is a good team, and we need to make sure that we need to go take care of business, right? Because, Lenoris is a good player, that offense. Dylan Stewart's a very good player, right? Like, they got a good team, and it's at their place in the SEC. Like, any game in the SEC is going to be hard. So we need to make sure that, we're locked in and be on our P's and Q's because, they can, easily come in, go in there and beat us down. So
you guys are human beings. Like, obviously, you just beat 4 ranked teams, and this isn't a ranked team. What steps can you take to make sure that no one does overlook this team?
Yeah, we think about, the first week, right, and, how, upset we were after that week, and then how intentional we were after Georgia and how that felt, right? Like, why can't we make every week, like that? You know what I mean? Like, people would need to understand that every game that we play is going to be somebody's championship game. You know what I mean? So, even since it's in the SEC, right, like, every SEC team has players just like us. Like these, like I said earlier, like they have, 2 really, really good players and many more after that, and a couple players who played here. You know what I mean? So, like, this isn't no cupcake walk by any means. Like, we need to we're game planning. We need to work around guys and just, understand that, like, we need to, go in there like we have every other week, right? Like, it's just 1-0 mindset, try to win the day.
What do you admire about Marcel as a quarterback? Going up against him.
I know Lenoris pretty well, from the Manning Passing Academy, of course, being an SEC quarterback. One, just how versatile he is, right? Like, not only can he throw, down the field, but he can also run and make plays. 2, he's bigger than what guys give him credit for, right? Like, I guarantee you, he's pretty stout. Not in a bad way, I hope he doesn't take it the bad way. But no, he's a really good player, man. And just being able to, see the things that he's done last year and this year, like, really, really impressed with him. And impressed with him as a human as well. Like, hung out with him a lot at Manning Passing Academy. Really, really enjoyed him, and really excited for his future.
What are some of the keys in dealing with South Carolina's edge rushers, including Dylan Stewart, who you talked about recently?
Yeah, right. So, guys are long, physical, fast. One, right, it's my job to get the ball out quickly, so I need to understand, where they are at all times. And then 2, just, understand, right, like I have to move up in the pocket and just know, like I said, where those guys are at all times, right? Like, what the down and distance is, what their type, rushing is on, 2nd and long or 3rd and long or how they play on 1st down, just stuff like that, you know what I mean? So, they're really, really good players. All their front, their 7, their back end, is long and physical. So, we need to come out and we need to be, ready to go.
Ty, Coach Grubb kind of filled us in on what it takes to, I guess, concoct a first play script. And I'm curious about what that conversation looks like over the course of a week leading up to a Saturday on your end.
Yeah, so, one, it goes to what we do well, right? what we have done well throughout the week, how we, understand everything, right? Two, it goes to what they do, all right? How do they come out, on their first drives? How do they, do everything when it comes to, their personnel? And then three, it's what, the players are comfortable with, right? So, I give him, my 2 cents. He gives me his 2 cents. He has the final word. But, I really appreciate him and Coach Sheridan, Mitch Dolan, and even Coach DeBoer, and Tyler Hughes and all those guys from just like a comfortable standpoint of, having me have a say as well. Like, hey, this is how I see it. This is what I'm comfortable with. Maybe, let's do it this way or any type of way, or this is my favorite play. You know what I mean? So, just us all being on the same page is huge. And then them telling me like, hey, this is why we're thinking this. It's been awesome. And those guys have helped me in my development, in a long way. And so I can't thank them enough.
Specifically with Coach Grubb, like how have those conversations helped, I guess, grow the trust and bond that you guys have?
Yeah. So, personally, right, like I think, I'm very inquisitive and, I want to understand like the reason why, right? Like I feel like if I understand the reason, the play and why we're doing things, I have a better grasp of, making things right. You know what I mean? Like, hey, here's the reason, here's the intent of the play. Here's the reason, we're running the play, and here's what hurts the play, right? So in those type of scenarios, if something had happened to where it wasn't the look that we were looking for, or it was the look that we're looking for, this is my read, this is me and my disciplinary actions and just things like that, and I think that's helped us as an offense understanding like, okay, I need to get him in the position to block this guy, or hey, I need to make sure this protection is going this way, or hey, I need to snap when the motion's like this, just stuff like that.
What have you seen from, you mentioned them earlier, the guys that transferred from here, they're now contributing on South Carolina's defense, Justin and those guys?
Yeah, so, J.O., of course, he's a starting linebacker there, like, long, physical, can run, comes downhill and hits. I remember him here. Just, really, really good player, really physical, really smart, really proud of where he's come. Sean Murphy's there, who's actually in my class, went to Florida State, went there. I remember him in my class, right, just how physical he is, right, and he can really run. So, he comes downhill and he'll hit you hard. And he'll fill in the gap pretty well. And then, Monkel Goodwine, who is a D lineman there, who's very physical and then, uses his hands really well, right? Always, it's hard to get, get blocked because he gets off blocks so well. 2 gaps pretty good. Those are all 3 really, really good players, right? Then you add, Dylan Stewart, the D tackle from Texas A&M, Brownlow Diddy. And then, their back end who guys are returning, right? Like they got a very, very like older roster. So, those guys are, going to be ready to play. And they're really, really good players. So we need to make sure that we're locked in and ready to go.
Do you think that 2024 Ty Simpson could have played as well as you played this year had you been given that chance?
I mean, who knows, right? I feel like that's such a big hypothetical question. You know what I mean? Do I feel like I'm the same player? No, but I feel like that I have the same ability. You know what I mean? So, who knows? It didn't happen, but I'm glad that God's put me here.
How are you different?
More mature. Understand things better. Just letting the game come to me, not trying to do too much. Just having fun, you know what I mean? I felt like a lot of times in my years past, I just, it almost felt like I was here and not enjoying it, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of miserable walking into the building, not knowing what I'm going to get into, not knowing how it's going to, how it's going to go today, instead of just embracing it and, understanding my role. And understanding that, God's blessed me to be at the, best university in the world, with the best team, with the best coaches, so.
And kind of piggybacking with what Chase just said, how do you block out now this positive noise that everybody's praising Ty Simpson?
Yeah, I just want to win, period, point blank. Whatever it takes for, to share those 3 to 5 minutes in the locker room like I had after, last week, that's all I care about, man. And I will make sure that, I do everything I can to prepare. We say in the quarterback room, prepare like you've never won, perform like you've never lost. You know what I mean? So that's how, you know, our mindset is, and, you know, whatever it takes, that's all I care about. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you.